Digi Bro, the primordial otaku gonzo journalist. By day, entertainer and translator, but not a translator of language so much as thoughts, ideas. As afternoon hits like a flurry of punches, an icon rises, rubs the grime from their teeth with the hem of their t-shirt, and begins another day of being right about everything. Consuming something, recontextualizing it in a way that anybody could understand, going out to eat alone at a restaurant they've never been to before, loving life unapologetically all the while. A forward-facing iPhone camera, a box of wine, a neglected beard, and the whole world watching. More people than you could ever possibly hope to meet in your lifetime. The big hitters scoff, but a football stadium is still a football stadium. A comedian with nothing but a reflection laughing back at them. An empty home that once held a family of 5. A love held onto for a moment, but ultimately lost. And oh, how many battles. If 2 lollies make out in the woods, will Digibro still get a boner? The insanely prolific internet YouTuber, anime analyst, lifestyle vlogger, former blogger, musician, performance artist, podcaster, writer, and all-around morbidly self-aware otaku gonzo journalist, formerly known as Digibro, moved around a lot as a child. With a traveling car salesman for a father, Digi and their 2 siblings, Shade and Victor, enjoyed a somewhat sheltered suburban adolescence. With a relatively stable household income, plenty of space to play around in, and encouragement from both parents, all 3 children would develop a thriving sense of creativity in their formative years, stitching together home movies out of any crazy juvenile shit that came into their unsupervised minds. The kind of movie any 13 to 16-year-old boy would naturally end up making given the means.
Do you know that you are a fag?
I hate you. Let's fight.
Windows Movie Maker, Mountain Dew, unkempt ponytails, and unabashed kitsch. Couldn't it be said that this is the most genuine form of creative expression? Is this not what we should all strive for? We would all hope to channel our ambitions into such means, dancing like nobody's watching under a yawning Virginia sky in a nihilistic suburban void. Several appraisals on the digital boy in pupil form can be gleaned from this endearing fairyland saga. The late YouTube Digi may not have gotten their start with anime, but the late WordPress digital boy is another story entirely. The Paleolithic blog My Sword is Unbelievably Dull spans back to the year dinosaurs roamed the earth, when cat pics and rage comics reigned supreme, and Reddit was still a message board. These early anime reviews, editorials, and play-by-plays were often brief, truncated, clumsy, but carried the early makings of an Oda Queen in her mewling infancy. The young schizoid had the feisty makings of a world-class gonzoid, a nit to pick with the Western otaku discourse at the time, and a knack for trouble. The first post, 15th of May 2007 of the 21st century, on planet Earth, took place in a vacuum. A squirrely, whirling dervish proclaims their decrees to a base audience of essentially 0, establishing a creative domain with the words, "I suppose that since it's my blog, I can really do as I please." The ethos of an era, and the motto of an author unwilling to forfeit creative control. Not to a fan, not to an editor, and positively not to themselves. The Digi reiterates its previous history on the Mega Tokyo and Otaku board stomping grounds, with the whining of judgmental seniority confined to an itsy-bitsy comment widget. The following list paints a picture of the subject's taste at the time of writing, also serving as a vertical slice of what shows were being discussed back then. Manabi Straight, Hidamari Sketch, and Lucky Star are all slice-of-life shows with an almost exclusively female cast. Aiming our future vision skywards, it bounces off the dome of our atmosphere before being whisked through a wormhole the size of a pin, suspended dormant over Norfolk, bringing us by a commodious vicus to the year 2017, where in Digibro's video, The Last High School Anime, Seattle, Town Overall Press, 1989, extolled the virtues of abstract chronologicalism through the lens of a fucking nerd, applied to 2000s core cute girls high school anime. The less esoteric side of this very gonzo, very experimental think piece suggests a fondness and admiration for the fairer sex, expounded upon further by writings which to dig up would be a Herculean clerical feat, given the dizzying plurality of the guru's teachings. Suffice to say, Digi often felt threatened by masculinity at odds with their own sense of manhood, and found solace in these types of shows, bereft of the Y chromosome, choosing to grapple not with obscene power levels and rippling physiques, but instead with trivial details of the daily lives of high school girls. This was the Digi's bread in the bro's butter, perpetually punching at a torrent of intolerant macho posturing against the 2000s onslaught of these Fists of the North Starers and JoJo's Bizarre Adventurers. The slice of life zeitgeist was seen as an affront to the validity of the market, and signaled a changing of the times that the old guard were wholly unprepared for. Me myself, being no stranger to the pitfalls of contrarianism, relates strongly to the need to stand up for what you believe to be valid, fighting for the right of your favorite art to exist, even when doing so brands one as a shitmongerer and a complaintive little bitch. So let's jump skip a few eons to the beginning of Digibro's YouTube career.
Hey!
Yeah, so,
Really getting to the bones of it. Don't fuck this up. This is gonna be really fucking hard because Beatrice proclaimed an ultimatum to her fans after her sudden switch in gender identity, and promptly deleted her YouTube channels, giving fans a small grace period to archive her content before it all disappeared. If you'd like to scan through this enormous tome with me, check out the Digibro archive channel, which has a 2,000 plus video playlist preserving all of Digibro's greatest hits, both from their main channel and their After Dark vlog channel. Ignoring a somewhat derivative and unremarkable attempt at creating a zero punctuation style game review show, Digi reached new levels of e-fame with their short-sighted but incredibly in-depth analysis videos of My Little Pony: Friendship is Magic. Featuring a flat gray background, a surprisingly tasteful talk sprite, and profuse implementation of the Blue Highway typeface, Digibrony really delved into the bones of what made these characters tick, with a remarkable analytical efficiency born from years of anime lifestyle blogging. New as a YouTuber but all too experienced a writer, Digi shone alongside her wet behind the ears pony peers. Facades of faux intellectualism strong-armed by more popular MLP reviewers, such as Dr. Wolf, faltering in comparison to Digi's quick, perceptive grasp of character writing and concise writing style. Even so, these videos were purposely stripped of personality, the Digibro character being just that, an inoffensive caricature of a milquetoast thought dispenser. The videos lacked swearing, were rarely as transgressive or as personal as the previous WordPress blog posts, and as a result, failed to garner the cult of personality carried by Digi's heel wrestler contemporary Endless Jess, another extremely interesting creator whose story may sadly have to wait for another day. While I did discover the Digi during this era of their career, in the grand scheme of the story, this venture is a blip on the radar, a mere ghostly projection of the epic that was yet to unfold. A measly shilling coming to a plink in a bucket, signaling the torrential shower of a decade's worth of token dividends that were yet to come. Having crumbled into a neurotic heap upon the plunging of the My Little Pony fandom into petty infighting and waning interest upon the leave of the show's original creator, and a vastly declining level of quality, Digi burrowed to the depths of the planet's core, with a whopping 6-month hiatus viewable from satellite view of the playlist which I am confiding in to give me what I hope is an accurate fucking representation of this person's life-work timeline, because the original videos aren't fucking up anymore. This is stupid. Like Siddhartha caught at the lowest vestiges of holiness, trapped in the pinnacle of excess in the city of sin, Digi likely spent this period wallowing in drink and seeking comfort in the arms of bug-ridden floozies in lavish Las Vegas hotel rooms, deteriorating into a mere lump of coal in the deepest soils alongside the fossils of our father's mistakes. The weight of 1,000,000-year sediments and sins compressed this dejected lignite into a bona fide diamond, bursting from the crust of the earth in a ball of raging fire. The newly reborn Digi Bro cast off the 14th and 25th letters of the Greek alphabet from its name and unfurled a pair of infernal wings spanning the diameter of Neptune, and, with a triumphant shriek, shattered the glass of every existing window pane in the northern hemisphere. Mothers wept, priests self-immolated, and the gods turned inside out with terror as a new lord wrought the spoils of its freshly proclaimed domain. These early anime videos did not garner many views. As it turns out, drastically altering one's output and abandoning the fandom which your subscribers belong to in favor of another niche media landscape is not the best way to retain those subscribers. Part of the equation here, as we would discover, was the lack of focus on currently airing anime, which once rectified with videos such as analyzing what good directing in anime looks like via Zankyo no Terror Episode 1 and Psychopath's Analytical Review, began to slowly but steadily garner a new fanbase, composed of fans converted from the MLP era and entirely new viewers who had just discovered the channel for the first time. But where this brave new direction really began to pay off was upon the inception of the infamous Sword Art Online and Analytical Diatribe, a massively controversial, extremely long dissertation on the downfalls of one of the most explosively popular anime series of all time. Making frequent reference to the legendary Mr. Plinkett and being set entirely to footage from the video game Terra Online, the video amassed a whopping 1,381,604 views over its lifetime, before its eventual deletion and subsequent archival. The following shitstorm propelled Digi into the limelight of online anime discourse, and the video amassed unprecedented levels of hostility from fans of Sword Art Online. Easily one of the most diabolically insightful and insightful works expelled from Digi's ripe womb in their mid-stage career, to this day the public image of the show in Western anime fandom is influenced by it to a sadly untraceable but most likely existent degree, given that the show's perception did experience a negative shift shortly thereafter. Not saying it was all Digi, it might have been. Anyways, the video experienced a humongous surge of backlash and furious comments, while many lauded it to the contrary, speaking of how they'd always hated this piece of shit series, and were just awaiting all their lives to see someone tear it apart. I've been vindicated, my life has meaning, Gott im Himmel, Hallelujah, Allahu Akbar, etc. Digi was never one to mimic the praises of others. They saw the act of telling people what they wanted to hear as an intellectually dishonest act of surrender. Instead, they strived to take the stances that only Digibro could have possibly taken, while focusing on many popular, currently airing shows in order to garner enough views to keep the lights on. They often focused on giving the most unique perspective allowed, preferring to attempt the most interesting and original angle on any given subject. And this yearning for originality, this need to shift the train of discourse with new ideas, was the driving force behind much of this channel's ethos. Nobody wanted to talk shit on Erased because it carried a knack for cinematic flair and had such a powerful grasp on the powers of aesthetic and suspenseful pacing. But the community needed somebody to tear it to shreds for its laughable presence of narrative depth, glaringly obvious symbolism, and its tendency to bash the viewer over the head with the point, unwilling to allow any detail to go unnoticed. The show ultimately ended up an overhyped disappointment in many people's eyes, and many fans lauded Digi for giving it the ass-kicking they thought it rightfully deserved. Many others were infuriated by the video's self-assured attitude, cough cough, and assumptions on the part of its viewers, but the minority which hated the show from the start clearly felt validated, evidenced by the huge spike in supporters on Digi's Patreon around the time of release. The bro fought against the thicket and bramble of disenfranchised weebs, while aiming mainly to please their myriad fans with videos on Myriad Colors Phantom World, Kabaneri of the Iron Fortress, Bakemonogatari, Kill la Kill, Shingeki no Kyojin, Sakamoto Deska, Kono Subarashi Sekai ni Shukufuku wo, Haikyuu, Kobayashi Sanchi no Medo Dragon, Kimi no Nawa, Kuruku no Basuke, Jietai Kanochi Nite, Kuku Tatakeri, Ritoru Ichi Academia, Dragon Ball, Tenshi no Tamago, Shinseki Evangelion, Maho Shoujo Riricard Nanoha, Ginga Eio Densetsu, Samurai Champloo, Shinsekai Ori, Kido Senshi Gundam, Jojo no Kimyo no Boken, Tamako Maketo, Darin Inza Furankisu, Haibane Renmei, Hibike Euphonium, Maho Shoujo Madoka Magica, Tengen Toppa Gurren Lagann, Ore no Imoto ga Kona ni Kawaii Wakai ganai, Watashi gan moten. This is a fun language. Among untold amounts of others, she was prolific. What can I say? But by far the most impressive feat of creatorship in my eyes was the Bros' 12-part long analytical episode-by-episode breakdown of the Asterisk War, totaling in at approximately 8 hours of footage, a runtime falling just 3 hours short of the extended cut of the Lord of the Rings trilogy. I won't enthrall you with all the small details, but suffice to say, in comparison to the Sword Art Online diatribe, this series is bursting with creative ennui, overflowing at the seams with personality, carrying innumerable several well-thought-out and extremely in-depth ruminations on everything from the show's premise, sci-fi concepts, character designs, fashion, portrayal of gender roles, and mishandling of tournament arcs, while drawing some unbelievably perceptive and convincing parallels with the simultaneously airing chivalry of a failed knight, not to mention exposing A1 Pictures' mistreatment of its staff, and constructing a potently memorable allegory between the studio and the fast food franchise McDonald's that I'm still thinking about every waking day of my life. This is the standard of quality every online content creator should strive for. This is art. Anything the bro put out at this stage could hardly be misconstrued as amateurish, with some of their most notable works being Anime is Getting Lazy with Its Meta, a deftly satirical take on the faltering meta commentary in anime, How to Recognize a Terrible Anime in Just One Episode, a stunning in-depth argument for the basis of the quality of a series being evident from the pilot, not nearly as cynical a video as it sounds, and one of my personal favorites, the passionate two-parter Akiyuki Shinbo in the 90s, a shamelessly genuine love letter to one of anime's most eclectic directors, spanning the entirety of his 1990s output and attempting to uncover the creative spark left behind in all his staff appearances. At the same time, Digi's music career was enjoying some attention. While now repulsive to me, I once found his unabashed attempts at nerd rap wholly endearing and listenable, if knowingly camp. They're well worth looking into if you can tolerate that sort of thing. In particular, Gay and Dead is an explosively vulgar, immensely enjoyable alcoholic thrill ride, dripping with manic energy from every orifice, every undulating orifice. I don't know if it's available anymore, but previously the bro had uploaded like a several hour-long, unwatchably pretentious masturbatory self-analysis of the whole project, burrowing up their own asshole, coming out the mouth, and going back down south for more, at least 3 times over. Sometimes I wonder why all artists can't be so transparent, but then again, maybe some things are better left unsaid. Some of my favorite lines off this album are, "Please do not speak to me between 3 and 8 a.m. I can't relate to you humans. I couldn't be any gayer and deader if I tried, sucking dick and committing suicide. I'm the king of the jungle. I run this zoo. Now get out of my cage, or I'll start slinging poo." If this excites you, you know exactly what to do. With a strengthened fanbase chomping at the heel for the hottest of takes, the bros' ethos had fully come into itself, unfurling like a wet rose on the secondary vlog channel, Digi Bro After Dark. The main channel may have been what brought in the fans, but any bro of Digi's knew where all the real content was at. There's a staggering amount of unscripted content here to go over, and attempting to summarize is equivalent to attempting to cauterize, sodomize, and lobotomize in this case, but here I go anyways. River run past even atoms from swerve of shore to bend of bay brings us by a commodious vicus of recirculation back to the Yoda Cave. The place this psychotic hobo calls home is host to 4 walls with adobe slats, obscured almost entirely by posters of naked anime chicks, lavish tapestries, pages torn out of magazines, one very elated Arab gentleman, and a bathroom floor caked corner to corner in delicious caramelized piss. The space contained within could accurately be appraised as non-Euclidean, labyrinthine. If you've read House of Leaves, you've pretty much got the idea already. The clustered mode of decoration, poor interior lighting, and just never really being able to see more than 5% of it at once, makes gaining your bearings in this demon room a near impossibility, and an absolute improbability. It's sincerely hilarious to me how fucked this room is. I cannot imagine living here without daily panic attacks. What would happen if you dropped a tab of acid in this cage? What would your life become? Would you even survive? Would you see God? Perhaps Satan? Perhaps there is no God. Maybe God died in this room.
"一人でいたってくらいだけでしょ」